Hello, welcome to another episode of the LiveCosts Construction Experience. I'm delighted this week to be joined by David Belman, who's the host of the Home Building Hero, which is a national podcast in the US all about home building, design trends, real estate, home construction, and industry news. David is an award-winning home builder and industry leader with over 24 years of experience in the industry. David brings his energy and passion for homes, as well as a wealth of information to help homeowners build, purchase, or design their next home. David, you're very welcome to the LiveCosts Construction Experience. How are you?
I am fantastic, and thank you so much for having me, Ciaran. And we're just very excited to be on an international podcast talking about my favorite stuff, homes.
It's been good, yeah. So we've been doing this for a little while now. I suppose the feedback has been good on it. That people sort of like to hear other people's issues, and we were talking sort of before we jumped on that the problems in construction are an international set of problems, and I suppose it's good to sort of view how different locations are sort of dealing with a lot of problems that the industry face. Before we jump into a lot of that, can we get a bit of context, I suppose? What's your relationship with the construction industry? When did all that start?
Sure. So I always say I'm a second generation home builder. So I grew up in the building industry. So it was literally in the basement of my parents' home when it first started. And I remember my first start in construction was I was about 10 years old, and I told my dad one day on a Saturday that I was bored, and I told him I was bored, and I won't use the expletive that I used, but I swore. And he was sitting at the kitchen table. He folded up the newspaper and said, "Okay, follow me." And he threw me in his pickup truck, and I thought maybe we're going to go out and get some ice cream or something fun. And we didn't go that way. We went to the rural area, and all of a sudden we pulled up on a job site, and he goes, "Come on out." And he gave me a broom and a shovel and said, "Start at the top and work your way to the bottom, and I'll be back in 2 hours." And he left me at the job site, and I had to clean it out. And so I learned a lot of stuff that day. I learned the value of hard work. I learned the value of a dollar. I enjoyed the industry, and it was kind of cool. I actually got a check. So being 10 years old and getting a check was kind of interesting. But I started helping out, and 17 years old, I was taking my real estate exam, and I got my license as soon as I was 18. And while I was in college full time, I sold houses. And then I got more involved in investment real estate, like buying land and building homes. And then I started to accumulate some dollars, and I was able to buy a bigger piece of land and divide it. And now we do everything. So we do land development, real estate, and semi-custom home building.
Interesting. So you're sort of taking the whole package, really, which is really interesting. I suppose what does your day the building company then being Belman Homes? What does your day to day look like in there?
I'm involved in a lot of stuff, so it's a pretty early day, and I do a podcast as well. We can talk about that, but usually I've got 3 episodes coming out a week. So I'm sometimes first thing in the morning I'm recording a podcast and getting that ready, and then I start working on the regular company stuff. So helping the sales team with pricing questions, working with the production team on what's going on with their homes. I've got a subdivision that we're just finishing. So usually dealing with either lots of paperwork or dealing with some sort of, okay, what's going on in the site? What do we need to schedule next? So I do handle the development aspect of the company. So yeah, there's always different things that I'm dealing with. And I do have I have a side business too, that we do some business development. And so I meet with those guys at least on a weekly basis, virtually as well. And we do some stuff there. So I got my hands in a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
You're hands-on with all different aspects of the business. I mean, one thing you touched on there with the podcast, and like, I suppose fair play for getting 3 episodes out a week and doing everything else you're doing. I mean, we try everything we can to get an episode out a week, so I know how much work goes into that. So first, well done on that one. So I suppose one thing that struck us when we're looking into, I suppose we listen to the podcast. We listen to every construction podcast we can get our hands on. We'll listen to it no matter where it is, because we think there's lots to be learned from it. But I mean, the podcast was interesting to us because it's linked into Belman Homes. But when we started looking through the Belman Homes site, we were struck by your marketing, which had everything from podcasts to blogs to virtual home tours. Like, Is that self-taught, or do you bring in agencies to help you on the marketing side?
Sure. So I when I graduated from college, I got a business management degree and a marketing minor. So I always kind of enjoyed the marketing world, but I do have people on my team that help with that. So yeah, we've kind of changed in the past couple of years, and I think we were probably early adopters of doing much more digital marketing than maybe my competitors were. I happen to be a younger home builder compared to my competitors, so average home builder in my market is like 60 years old, and I'm in my 40s, so I'm still kind of a pup compared to them. But I do things differently, and that's okay. But yeah, we put a lot of time into the website, updating it. We had a company that helped us curate some of the blogs. So for me, what I did is I don't know if you've ever heard of Gary Vee. He's a big
Yeah.
content creator, but I use a little bit of his model in that, we created all these blogs, and I used those blogs as sort of the basis for the podcast. So my first, 20, 30 episodes were taking the blogs that I worked hand in hand with these writers on, and then basically creating a podcast about them. So I had lots of content, and we kind of melded that into the website. And my podcast is not a sell at all. Like, I don't sell my company at all. In fact, it's usually just mentioned maybe once, like that I work for Belman Homes, but I'm the host of the show. So I don't sell our company at all. Sometimes I might have, hey, we would do this way or that way, but it's not a sell at all. It's just informational. And I've found that I've got a pretty wide audience now. I have, consumers. I've had people from other states say, your advice helped me build a house, or gave me some good direction. And I've had, people from industries reach out. We just interviewed a gentleman from Australia on the podcast, which was pretty cool. So yeah, it's exciting to see the reach on that and meld that all in. And then we do radio and some other things locally here as well. So we have a pretty big spectrum of things that we do.
The big question will be especially from traditional type building companies, construction companies, is the amount of time and effort that will go into creating this content. You talked about your reach, and it's reached all the way over here to Dublin, Ireland. So something's working. You were able to get your name out there. Now we're probably
can't build a home for you there.
No,
yeah, but it's cool that it reaches that far. It's awesome.
Not yet, being the main thing. You never know someday. But
yeah, never know.
The main, I suppose, challenge that you would get from a lot of traditional building companies is, why am I putting all this effort into this content? Like, why, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people stray away from doing it because they're like, it's not an immediate ROI, return on investment. It's kind of a longer game, and it's, you have to think about how people are interacting in the marketplace nowadays. And a lot of people, they're looking for information first. We're in the information age. So people are going to websites and reading articles about, how to choose a builder, or how to, find a lot, or biggest, challenges when, buying a home, whatever kind of topic. So that's how I initially started. It was, finding topics that I think buyers would be interested in, and then creating content to help them. And then, a lot of people, they go to a website to learn about something, but at the end of the day, they go, oh gosh, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to hire a professional. So part of it is being, a leader in the industry, and being, okay, I want to be the voice of this industry. I want to be the voice of, this marketplace. So when people want to hire the best or the expert, I hope they're coming to me, because I'm giving them all that content and all that information for free. And, if you need help, by the way, contact me. Yeah. And that's kind of some of the philosophy behind it.
What are the most effective methods or channels to market in, say, as a home builder?
Oh, it's challenging right now, because what worked 6 months ago doesn't work now. What worked a year ago, it certainly doesn't work. So it's ever evolving. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to have a good website. Your website has to be able to generate, some leads for you. And we've sort of developed our website that way, where it's become a lead generator. So we do get, a fairly steady stream of leads through, and in good and bad. So because we do a lot of digital marketing, and we're on the map, sometimes we get leads that we just can't help. So I'll get people that want to build, a home for $200,000 US, which is like basically impossible to do. And so you have to kind of go, no, our starting price is, 450,000 US dollars. And so, a lot of times that's great that I'm getting them first, but then we have to sort of educate them a little further. And so that's the only challenge with that is, we do get a lot of people sometimes that aren't really qualified. And, but it's great that they're using us as a resource. And, it's always kind of like, hey, I know we're not right for you now, but, someday we will be right for you. So, maybe when get that first house and get some equity in it, then the next time come and see us.
Yeah. So you touched on the strategy there. It started off with blogs and downloadables, I suppose, and a lot of it is how-to content, and then you create audio content from that. What was your thinking around the podcast? I mean, what was the strategy attached to the podcast? I mean, is it a pure passion project, or is it absolutely a strategy, an awareness strategy related to the business?
It's a little bit of both, so I was working with a marketing company that helped me with the blogs, and they're like, you really need to get into podcast. And I've done a lot of radio stuff. So I was like, okay. And he kind of gave me a strategy of like, he's like, it's super simple. He's like, you don't have to overthink it. He's like, he showed me some apps I could use. He's like, just get in there and start recording and, 10, 15 minutes, and so the majority of my podcasts are still what I call like the lecture style, where I just talk about a subject. And so I'm always kind of thinking of different topics and subjects that I can do. And then, I did that for a while. I got over 100 episodes into it. And I started seeing it growing fairly quickly. And I was like, okay, this is reaching people, and it's getting some legs. And other people are like, yeah, you're getting really good numbers. And I also kind of looked, and there wasn't really a lot of people doing home building and construction for the same reason I mentioned earlier, that my industry is an older industry typically. So I was like, okay, well, this is definitely something that I got to keep doing. And so I sort of got to the point where I was like, I want to make sure that I'm keeping the content out. So when my competitors go and say, hey, I guess you should probably do a podcast too, also they go, oh crap, he's got all the content out there. Like, how am I going to beat that? So I just kept kind of doubling my efforts down on, I'm going to continue to produce content and make sure that I've got every topic covered so I can be the source for people. And, it's been really good, and it's continued to grow. And we've got, I didn't do it for dollars. I did pick up a really large sponsor now, which is really great. So that's exciting. But I kind of waited until I had a certain amount of people listening to it before I did that.
Excellent. Can you talk to us about Operation Finally Home?
Sure. So another thing that I got involved with, several years ago was I'm very active in my industry. So I've done work at my state and my national builders associations, helping the industry. And I was at an event, and they had it was for our veterans, and there was a veteran that basically lost his legs in the war, and guy wanted to serve 20 years of his life, and he had 6 kids at home, and he had to have his legs amputated, and totally didn't know what to do with the next part of his life. He was depressed, and this organization came and found him, and they built him a brand new home for free. And this wasn't like a little tiny home. This is a legit, normal home we would build here in the United States. And I was at this event, and he was there, and I heard about it. I saw some videos. I'm like, gosh, this is really impactful. And so I got involved with it, and I brought it to my state of Wisconsin. And we did one. It was a lot of work, working with trades and everybody to get the materials and the labor donated. And we raised money, so we did some events. And it was so rewarding that we decided to do another one. And the second one, I got a really big organization to donate 150,000 US dollars, which is like, probably over half the cost of the home. So I was like, okay, I'll do another one. And then when they gave me that money, they said, well, what's your plan? I said, well, if I get this, I'll do another one after that. And they're like, that's exactly what we want here. And so it's just kind of perpetuated, and we've done 6 of them, and we have plans for 7, and it gets on the news station. So we surprise the family. So we have them come in, they think they're going to interview with me, and I surprise them. And like, hey, you're getting the house. And they're like, it's on film. It's just incredible. And then we do some videos while they're at the house. like looking at it. And then when we dedicate the home, we have like a parade. We have all the neighbors and all the people that support it come out and welcome them home and give them a proper, heroes welcome home. And it's pretty amazing. So very rewarding and glad that we can do that.
Well done on that one. Yeah, absolutely great. I suppose you've got a clear amount of knowledge within the industry, and also you're looking at innovative ways to, get that competitive edge, which we all look to do. Just wanted to touch on technology. Obviously, what I do on a day-to-day is construction software, so I'm always interested, in the technology side of things. So, I mean, what role do you see technology playing over the next 5 years in construction and in particular home builders?
Yeah, it's going to have an ever-growing role in it, and the easiest way for me to look at it is, take another industry that's maybe a little bit further advanced at it. And one of the industries that I always like to compare is the auto industry. So, about 4 or 5 years ago, the auto industry really started to integrate all this technology, the Bluetooth stuff, and in their vehicles, and they've done a good job of doing that. And I think that's where we need to look at for homes. And we're starting to get there. It's not a standard feature yet by any means in homes, but, it's still kind of like what I call the Wild West, where there's so many manufacturers making all these products and they don't all play together nicely yet. And so it's like you either got to have 12 apps on your phone to operate everything. But I think we'll see a consolidation. Your big players, your Googles and Apple, they're going to be the big players in it, and everyone's going to have to kind of work with those guys. But I think, we're seeing more and more people integrate those features into their home. And then on the builder side, we have to do, builders are usually pretty technologically adverse. So builders have to do a better job of integrating in new software and programs to be more efficient. And there's all sorts of things. I mean, the next 5 years, I think we'll see more, drone technology. We'll see more job site camera stuff. Maybe you don't need the project manager out there constantly. Maybe you've got a stationary, camera over the internet that you can monitor things. So I think we'll see more of that kind of stuff, but we use some special software where, there's a portal for our customers to log in. We house all our documents there. We put our scheduling on there. They can sign work orders, right on their smartphone. So we're already using some of that, but there's way more that can be done yet. We've just scratched the surface of that.
Interesting. I mean, do you feel this COVID pandemic that we're going through now will accelerate people's thinking on technology?
Yeah, I think it already has, just using Zoom and being able to communicate with people. We're still seeing a lot of our clientele want to come in and physically, go in the showroom, and they want to meet face to face. And we're still seeing that, but I think a lot of the younger buyers are definitely like, hey, let's do more virtual tours. And when we got locked down in our state, we were like, okay, we got to do something. So I'm like, we just started creating video, and I brought my team in, and I built a studio in my office for the podcast, but it turned into sort of our Zoom and our video studio as well. So we record videos. So we're doing some how-to videos, just informational about home building, just kind of like an interview style. And then we were doing some video tours of our models and some Facebook Lives and different things, just to, hey, if they can't come out to see the house, they're still stuck at home. They're still behind the computer looking for something to do. And so we did a little bit of that. That kept some awareness up, and was inexpensive. And it was a way to kind of keep our staff busy while we were, kind of going through this crazy time.
Yeah, we actually had a very, very similar approach ourselves. And when we went to the full lockdown, we just made a decision internally that, this is not a time to sell anything to anybody. So what can we do with all the time? And we said, let's go into a full value content mode. Like, how many webinars can we get out a week? How many podcasts could we possibly get out a week? And just provide value first, because really, what else can we do through this time? So it's interesting to hear you had a similar approach.
Yeah, we did the same kind of thing. I actually got a lot of podcasts recorded during that time. And the thing that happened for us that I wasn't anticipating is that as soon as our lockdown got lifted, we got just slammed. Like, we were so busy. And so I got behind. So luckily I was ahead with my podcast, and now I'm like, okay, well, I gotta get some more content going, because I'm, it's kind of the challenge. It's like you either have like too much content, you got to slowly work through it, or it's like, oh shoot, I ran through it all, and now I got to really, I'm kind of in that mode now where I'm like, okay, got to create some more stuff here.
I'm going to slightly put you on the spot here. And it's advice, if you had one piece of advice, sales and marketing advice in particular, to offer a home builder, what would that be?
Um, well, it's really two things, I think. One is that you have to understand that people buy people first. And so, one of the things that I've done by putting myself out there is that people know who I am, right? And so they don't buy the company first anymore. It's not like, oh, it's Coca-Cola, buy that, it's a big company. No, they're buying the people behind it, and they want to buy from somebody they know, they like, and they trust. So by putting myself out there as part of the brand, that really helps. And I use LinkedIn a lot, and I put a lot of stuff on there, and I've actually been getting some leads from that, and never really tried or hard sold on that. Just that's what I have used. But the other thing is to, I think, be authentic and be not afraid to share things. And I don't do this as well as I should, but I know some content creators that share like everything, the good and the bad. And I try to be more positive and share all the good stuff. But there are some people that will share, hey, I had this problem and I screwed this up. And they have massive followings because they're so authentic. So being authentic and putting yourself out there is an important thing to do these days.
Yeah, it makes sense. You've been very kind with your time, David. Where can people learn more about you and the podcast?
Sure. So for the podcast, just search Home Building Hero on Apple Podcast, and it's kind of an orange and gray logo. And you can listen to it there. It's on 10 different platforms. So you can listen on Stitcher and Podbean and Apple Podcasts, Google, all those. And then as far as our website, it's belmanhomes.com. There's only one L in Belman, so it's BELMAN homes.com. And you can check out our website, some of our homes and some of the projects that we're doing. And I really appreciate, the opportunity to speak to you guys, and look forward to future conversations.
Absolutely. David, thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you very much.